What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So heading into 2022, Nintendo has been working to stack many releases from some of their most popular franchises like The Legend of Zelda or Splatoon, and it appears, based on a new report, they could be working to announce an entry for their most popular franchise, and we're going to go over that one here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the potential return for Armored Core after it was leaked out in a new survey, and we're also going to be going over an update for E3 because unfortunately, we could be seeing this trade show come to an end. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with some classic JRPG news, that being for Triangle Strategy. It's a game I'm really looking forward to because, I mean, let's face it, it looks like a straight callback to Final Fantasy Tactics. We are expecting it to come out March 4th, and it looks like it's right on track as expected. It did get a rating with the ESRB, which you can see here, rated teen, again, as we were expecting it to be. So this is good news across the board to see everything on track for this game, because remember, Team Asano is supposed to have other games that are going to be getting revealed, and there's been a lot of excitement around things like the Dragon Quest III being redone in HD 2D. Unfortunately, there were talks that might find its way out this year, but that may have been a mistranslation or misunderstanding, and not quite, at least at this time. But for classic JRPG fans, I mean, Triangle Strategy coming up here in a couple of months is exciting stuff. Also, we did have another rating alongside of Triangle Strategy that was spotted, and you can see this from Gamatsu, where they say Ghostwire Tokyo has been rated in Korea. So this is interesting because we had an updated look at it. And I looked around, I saw people who just said, I'm still not really sure what's going on here, but it looks kind of cool. It looks different. I mean, it's from obviously Bethesda and all of this, but I was looking at it myself and just trying to figure out what was happening. It's at least gotten my interest, so I assume we're going to find out more about this game in this rumored PlayStation event that's supposedly going to be taking place in February. At least that's what the latest reports and the rumor mill's been kind of pushing out there. And I assume Ghostwire Tokyo will be there. It was apparently supposed to come out last year or something, and there was that delay, although we hadn't heard anything about it. I was kind of thinking of it alongside of God of War, where no one was really expecting it to come out because it was like, a couple months before the end of the year, but they still had to put it out there as a formal announcement. I'm expecting this one, though, to come out in the first half of this year. So yeah, they'd probably have to start talking about it here pretty soon. I would look towards February for that. Oh, and we also had some news for Dying Light 2. It was kind of this announcement or this fact that was put up on Twitter, and I don't think it went over the way Techland was hoping it would. Take a look at this. This is from the Dying Light account saying, to fully complete Dying Light 2 Stay Human, you'll need at least 500 hours, almost as long as it would take to walk from Warsaw to Madrid. And a little graphic here for that. And everyone underneath there is like, well, how did you draw it out to 500 hours exactly? Like, is this a game that just feels like it's never ending? And it's just like, there are people who prefer just a quick 10, 12-hour gameplay experience, and as long as it doesn't seem to be drawn out, it's more enjoyable. Like, I've noticed that at Ubisoft, as many have, that some of their games, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just feels completely stretched out, where it'll take you 50 or 60 hours just to beat the game. Now, they did reply to this because I don't think they were expecting the response that they got, which were people who were a bit concerned about that game time. They said that mostly to like complete everything that you would be normally doing in the game, and then side quests and exploring, under 100 hours, said around 80 hours or so. For an open world game, and after what I've seen with Assassin's Creed, that seems about right. I'm still hoping it's not going to feel like it's this never-ending game, but I have liked what I've seen so far with Dying Light 2, and I am looking forward to it in about a month when it releases. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with why Mario Kart was trending on Twitter over like the entire weekend, and that's because Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart 10 is what people are saying, because I guess the mobile phone Mario Kart game is considered the 9th one, and we're going to look towards this newer one as 10. Either way, it came up as a prediction mixed kind of with a report from one analyst. This was over on gamesindustry.biz. Basically, they go around and they ask different analysts in the industry, what are your predictions for 2022? Where do you think the market is going to head with hot topics, whether it's the Switch Pro, PS5 and Xbox, stock situations, or even blockchain and NFTs and all of this. Well, Dr. Serkan Toto had something to say, which you can see here, about Mario Kart 9. I am aware Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling very well on the Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development and comes with a new twist, and Nintendo could tease it this year. On mobile, Nintendo has been very silent since Mario Kart Tour's launch in 2019, but I think 2022 is when we will see an established IP arriving on smart devices again. I'm curious what they would try to do on mobile phones. I mean, they have a lot of IPs they could pick from. Maybe they revive F-Zero and put it on phones. I'm sure that'd be really exciting for F-Zero fans there. However, Mario Kart, yeah, I think everyone figures Nintendo's going to do another Mario Kart. Like, they're not just going to be like, well, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just sold too many copies. We can't make another one. No, I'm actually surprised one hasn't released yet. Although, again, he brings up the Mario Kart sales. We just talked about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe topping the UK sales charts the other week, right? It's up there in the NPD sales charts. They continue to bundle it with the Switch, and people buy a Switch, they look around and they go, well, I like Mario Kart, I'm gonna buy that. It's the best-selling game on the Switch still, like years and years in, and it was a game from the Wii U, which is one of the reasons that I necessarily wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo held off this new Mario Kart, which I guess we'll just call Mario Kart 10 for now, if they held it off until they were ready to launch the next Switch. I mean, if you think about it, their most popular franchise right now, and it might sound weird to a lot of people, is Mario Kart. It's not The Legend of Zelda, it's not just Mario, it's Mario Kart. It's not even Pokemon now. Like that's it. If you want to launch a new Switch, you put Mario Kart with it on release day, and you probably sell just insane amounts of new Switch systems and games. And that's one that I would make cross-gen. You just release it alongside of that and the older Switch, and you sell Animal Crossing-like numbers in the span of a couple of months. But he did bring up a new twist. And that's the part I think people are trying to figure out where Nintendo could go with Mario Kart, because they haven't made massive changes going from one iteration to the other. They've done some things, like people look back on Mario Kart Double Dash as being very unique, having two people on the cart at the same time being able to switch. That was pretty cool. But like, if they want to make a massive change that I think would have what you would perceive to be the development time being so long, makes sense, is maybe if they leaned into more of the single player stuff alongside of a really good multiplayer. Maybe they get crazy with it, and I put it on Twitter. I was like, hey, what if they just went full Grand Theft Auto with the thing? You could get off of your cart and explore a city like New Donk City, and you have storylines and all of these different things set up. I don't know if they'll go that route. That's kind of like how we had The Simpsons Road Rage, and then they went to Hit and Run, and they actually got out of the cars. That's kind of the evolution, I guess, I'm seeing here from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe up to Mario Kart 10. The obvious one is that they just bring in different characters from all across gaming into Mario Kart. That means outside of Nintendo, even like we have with Smash Brothers. And then they would have the big reveals and announcements for new characters at their Direct all over again without necessarily needing Smash to be there to do it. The only thing I question with that is, would they really be able to make each one feel as unique in Mario Kart as they do in Smash? But either way, we'll see if Nintendo shows up at one of their Directs sometime this year with a new Mario Kart, or they really do hold out for another year or two, as, I mean, we're thinking the next Switch could show up maybe late 2023, early 2024. So, surprise, there's probably another Mario Kart in active development right now. Next up, we have a bit of an update around E3. We had talked previously about how there wasn't going to be an in-person E3 event, according to them, due to the pandemic and the COVID outbreak of Omicron and all of that. Well, it looks like they may have decided this months ago, and not necessarily because of the reaction to the Omicron variant starting to have broken out. We can see this tweet. This was posted up by Mike Futter. Said, "This spin, I heard from sources in mid-November before Omicron's emergence at the end of that month that the ESA had abandoned their dates for the LA Convention Center." Now, looking at this, it does appear at this time that there may not be an E3 this year. However, I think if there's no E3 this year, that might be it, at least for how we knew E3 before. Over the past, like it says 94, 95 or whatever. I think it will have to have a massive revamp and change. I don't see it existing in an all-digital world, as more and more people have come out to kind of back this report, saying, yeah, it looked like the ESA wasn't going to have plans set in place for a digital E3, and as Jason Schreier said, seems like they're more throwing in the towel on E3. They could move it, they could rebrand it, and figure out how they can also have a digital presence along with the physical presence, but I think that's what really sets it apart, because otherwise, why wouldn't you just stream yourself if you're Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Square, Capcom, and save millions of dollars? Nowadays, any of these companies, if they say, hey, like your Capcom, we're just going to announce a new Resident Evil, you know, on Tuesday, people are just, they'll watch it. Like, they don't need E3 to be there with the big banner taking millions of dollars from these publishers. It just doesn't work that way anymore with social media and streaming platforms. The idea of E3 was more so to the benefit of smaller developers who can have meetings with bigger publishers in person, and the entire networking aspect to it. We got to the point where fans would attend and then lines would be 8-9 hours long just to play a demo of a new game coming up that year, and when I would see that, it felt less appealing overall. We would usually watch the coverage for it on TV, and it looked like a lot of fun, but unfortunately where we are now with E3 and how a lot of things are shifting to all digital, I'm not sure where they go from here, so I guess here's hoping that they can figure it out, because to me, it would be a shame to lose that big week in gaming. It was always something I would look forward to. It was a ton of news and reveals jammed into a single week. So we'll see if they have any plans going forward into 2023. Otherwise, though, I guess Jeff Keighley's up with his Summer Game Fest, and we'll see if he can pick things up and move along from there over the next couple of years. Next up, let's talk about Armored Core, as images of a survey started to appear online, and it sounds an awful lot like Armored Core because it's from FromSoftware, and we can see some of the images here. And there are a couple bullet points that are like sort of bolded here, going over some of the features of this supposed game from Miyazaki. It says the sci-fi world created by Miyazaki. FromSoftware's unique and deep sci-fi worldview and multi-layered story. Set on the planet Bashtar, a sci-fi world devastated by a planet-wide disaster with an overwhelming sense of scale that only Mecha can provide. I wonder what game you would have mechs. It's third person, this action title where they say you move around an overwhelmingly scaled map that represents a unique sci-fi world with dynamic mech action. If only there was a game series that would be able to fit that build. And yes, a lot of people are looking back and saying that's Armored Core. So the last Armored Core we had, there was Armored Core 5. That was 2012. There was a follow-up to that, I believe a year later in 2013. But I mean, I saw Armored Core 5. I played some of it and I kind of moved on from there. The one that I really got into, actually, I guess For Answer, I played that as well. The one that I really got into though was Armored Core 4 on the Xbox 360. I think part of that was like, we're still in that honeymoon period. I think that was a year after the 360 had come out, but that game was a blast to play. And I mean, if you think about it, we basically skipped the PS4 and the Xbox One generation with Armored Core. It's been a while, like I said, 2012, 2013, since we had Armored Core 5. So, I mean, with how different FromSoftware is now, I mean, they were doing Sekiro, they're doing Elden Ring. Think about how the Souls-like experience has shifted overall to what Elden Ring has become. I mean, who knows what they've come up here with something like a new Armored Core, even on newer systems. I do think they might try to do cross-gen if it's coming out this year. I mean, if they have a survey running and just kind of going over the marketing material is what it sounds like here, as there were snippets of a trailer that, according to the person who put this up, a user on Reset Era, it had like a unique watermark to it, which is a way they can identify who leaked it out. So they seem to be pretty careful about it. Just seeing how do you react to what we're showing here, because yeah, it can be kind of tough, I guess, to show off a mech game well. Daemon X Machina felt like a game that could have filled in for Armored Core, but I just don't know if it really did for a lot of people. So yeah, if FromSoft shows up after Elden Ring, of course, has come out, and they go, hey, check this out, and it's Armored Core 6, you're gonna get a lot of people hyped up online, and I'll be pretty excited to see what they come up with, especially on newer platforms like the PS5 or the Xbox Series. In our last bit of news, let's talk a little bit about those Days Gone sales numbers that we briefly mentioned after Jeff Ross took to Twitter and said, hey, we sold over 8 million copies. Why wasn't Sony that excited for Days Gone, but they're really excited for Ghost of Tsushima? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like it was as cut and dry as they both sold the same. We can see this as an update over on Game Informer, where they say on a recent live stream, this being with David Jaffe, Ross revealed that a source for the sales numbers was a now defunct website called GameStat that tracks PlayStation trophy data. So basically, like, how many people played this? More than 8 million. Okay, they must have all bought it. Not necessarily, considering they had it for PlayStation Plus. They just gave it away to PS5 owners, basically. And there's like game sharing, and you could technically rent a disc and pop it in, right, from like GameFly or something. So unfortunately, trophy data, especially how many people have just turned the game on, doesn't necessarily correlate to just outright sales, whether it's a 60, 40, 20, any kind of price amount there based on different discounts doesn't line up, right? So looking at that, I guess it could be much less even than 8 or 9 million copies. So although it did seem to do well enough on Steam and PC, but there was something else that was mentioned in that live stream. That was about what was next for Sony Bend Studio after Days Gone 2 was denied by Sony. This also part of that live stream where Jeff Ross mentioned that they had pitched an open world Resistance game. He said, we have all these open world loops that we figured out, and it almost wrote itself with Resistance. There were so many aspects of that property that kind of lent itself to open world gameplay. That would actually be pretty cool to have an open world Resistance game. I'm not really sure what Sony wants to do with Resistance, if they want to do anything at all, but I would like to see another game in that series. But it looks like Siphon Filter was suggested to Sony Bend, I assume from a higher up at Sony. And Ross says that they didn't really know what they would do with a reboot for the PS1 series. Like, he said, I have zero ideas on how to reboot Siphon Filter, but the fact that Sony said, how about Siphon Filter, makes me think, because this would have been in like the last year or two, that Sony is at least considering like getting Siphon Filter moved up to current platform, maybe with a full reboot. That'd be kind of cool. Like, I'd be interested to see what would happen with that one. But like a new Resistance game, I'm on board for that too. So it's unfortunate that it seems like none of this actually panned out. Although Jeff Ross did just mention that Sony is at least bringing up Siphon Filter. So maybe that's something we'll have to keep an eye on going forward. They're not interested really in Resistance, but they're interested in Siphon Filter. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, will Nintendo announce the next Mario Kart game this year? 68% said no, 32% said yes. I just feel like Nintendo's just gonna sit back and say, well, it doesn't need a new Mario Kart game, that being the Switch, because the Wii U Mario Kart game keeps selling on the Switch, although it's been so long since a new Mario Kart game's come out, and typically it was on like a 3-year cycle or so. And I mean, what, the Mario Kart 8 that came out in 2014? It's been a long time since we've had that new Mario Kart game. And you know what? At this point, I'm just curious to see what the big twist is, because sure, it could be a bunch of characters just getting put into Mario Kart, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people want, but Nintendo sometimes likes to Nintendo, so you never know. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Two Soup saying, I wonder how Nintendo is going to handle the next generation. What can they do to keep the momentum of the Switch with a new system? I feel like they kind of have to have backwards compatibility of some sort, but as for the new gimmicks, I can't think of anything they'd need to do other than significantly bolstering the power of the system. And this is the ultimate Nintendo being Nintendo if they really try to change the next Switch and get away from that hybrid nature. They can't, right? Like, they have to stay with the hybrid setup, and the obvious path to take is just make it stronger and move on, right? Like, if Nintendo stepped back and looked at what Apple does with all of their iPhone revisions or Samsung, sure, there are some extra features. They might focus on the cameras, but you get a better processor in there, more RAM, all that stuff, and it gets incrementally more powerful. Although they do that like every year, this is something they will probably do after 6 or 7 years. So, I mean, I personally say stick with it. The OLED display is great. Let's attach better hardware to it and have this ultimate like Switch experience, backwards compatibility, and I think people will still be on board with the hybrid concept to where they'll go out and say, hey, I like my Switch. It's probably time to upgrade to the next one now. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below. But everything we talked about here today was this new Mario Kart 9, Mario Kart 10, whatever you want to call it. What's the big twist that Nintendo will go with here? Also, what about Armored Core? Are you a big Armored Core fan, and are you excited to hear we might be seeing a new one later on this year? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.